Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Together We Battle podcast. We are here with co host Nancy. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Welcome back to the Roots of Growth. As you should know quite well at this point, these are short spiritual practices for everyday life. And while we've set this to come out during the holiday season, you could use these anytime. So let's touch back on episode 6. Nancy, what we did was finding tranquility. Can you give everybody just a short recap on what we talked about?
So, in the midst of overwhelm or chaos, the question is how can you reset yourself? Looking at it that way. If you cannot take yourself to a tranquil place, which could be somewhere where you like to sit, some view that you enjoy, some activity, anything. If you cannot go there, could you go there in your head for just a few moments? I can remember when my boys were little, there were times where the chaos was such that I needed to retreat to the bathroom and get a minor reset, maybe wash my face off, maybe say, you can do this. But the point is not to let overwhelm, but to come back centered and realize, okay, there's certain things I can handle, and there's certain things that are way beyond my pay grade that I cannot do anything about at this moment. So,
Yeah.
sense of resetting and being aware that you need the reset is the critical piece, and then taking the 2 to 5 minutes that it takes. Work with your breath, maybe. Feel your feet on the ground. Imagine that tranquil place. For some people, it might be at the beach. Another person, it might be cabin in the woods. And then from the emotional frame of that space, can you re-enter the chaos or overwhelm and work? I'm just going to use the word smarter. Work with, okay, I recognize the situation. I know there's things I cannot control here, and there's other things that I can work with what I can, rather than letting the overwhelm feed through and create that loop.
The loop will get everybody. So if you missed episode 6 or you missed 1 through 5, please make sure you go back and listen in. We have given some really great, just day-to-day tips and steps that you can take to become more zen. All right, let's kick it off. Week 7. Today, we are talking about giving and receiving compliments. I know some of you are probably like, I can't accept a compliment. It's a struggle for me. I recognize that. Some of you may not even realize that that's the case, and some of you can. And this might still be a good conversation for you to hear. So, Nancy, why don't you give us some information on what that means, and maybe we'll share some stories about it.
Sure. Let's start out with the fact that compliments are interesting things, right? For some people, they really are positive affirmations. They have the capacity to shift our mood, to as well as shifting how we feel about and view ourselves. So I was eons ago church musician playing the organ and was asked to play Bach at a funeral. I was covering for a fellow organist. I played every single Bach piece I knew, and the gentleman who had asked for it, also an organist, great big church in Boston, said to me, "Oh, you chose your pieces so wisely. Thank you for playing them." And I didn't dare tell him, well, I'm a really young organist and that's the only Bach I know. So I was trying to downplay what he told me, right? And so some of us are taught to display modesty and humility rather than to accept the compliment. And I was just so frozen by the fact that I played every Bach piece I knew. That I wasn't really accepting what he had told me and allowed myself to feel good about where I had placed these different pieces within that funeral service. So that's two things, how we view ourselves and the downplaying of things to display some modesty and humility. And also, we need to be aware that for some individuals, especially those who have experienced trauma in their past, a compliment can be something to be wary of because is the person to be trusted? Are they telling me a real truth about myself or are they just trying to fake it? I'm just not sure. So, if we're looking at spirituality as awareness, giving and receiving a compliment is also a spiritual discipline because it's about being aware. When you give one, being aware of the other. When you receive one, being aware of how you take it. So giving a compliment, there's a handful of things to be aware of. One, you need to be genuine. A false compliment will have the exact opposite effect on a person you're receiving it. It can leave them feeling insecure. You can also give details rather than saying, oh, you're a great musician. You can tell them what part or quality of that music really moved you. Oh, how you played this piece here I'd never heard anything like it. It was wonderful. So something that's rather specific. Not, I like your dress, but the cut of that dress works so well with your body, or the color brings out the color of your eyes. So give detail. And that allows the person receiving that compliment to be really, truly seen and appreciated. You can think small too. Compliments don't need to be gigantic things because noticing a small thing about a person can also have a big impact on them as well. So there was one time where someone said to me, oh, the legato in that piece. The legato is how you connect a melody line together so that it's not choppy. The way you played that legato in the such and such a piece was just so well done. And it made me feel really well because I had worked really hard to get that connected with the finger movements and all of that. Nothing you need to work on. You can talk about a small task as well. A child will often given the task of setting a table for dinner maybe. Oh, you did that with such care. Look how these forks are perfectly placed. Just let them know one small little bit, which gives the details, right? But you can assist, especially children. I notice they try so hard and sometimes things just don't come out how you'd like them to. So, for instance, you're moving the knives and the spoons around on the table, but they did the fork spot on. So let them know about the fork. You can see a child stand up straighter with that rather than saying, you didn't get the knife and the spoon right. You can show them, well, let's do this part too.
Well,
And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but to that point of giving somebody that compliment, such as a child, when you're picking out the one little positive they did, I'm constantly in life looking for the glimmer or the little shimmer of what's the silver lining. Hey, we didn't have this go right today, but this did go right. So we're going to focus on that, like you said, the really small thing. And if you continue to do that, especially with children, I've worked with children a long time too, that helps build their confidence as
yeah,
they move into teenage, adult, and then when they get to an adulthood, they're like more likely to be able to take a compliment.
they feel seen,
Yeah,
right? Children
yes.
feel seen. And when you point out what was done well, I'm talking little ones. Oh, you picked out a lovely shirt to wear today. Why don't we unbutton it and put the buttons together how they're supposed to be? Rather than, you idiot, you can't button a shirt. And show them. It's easier if you start from the bottom.
I remember a time when the boys were small and they used to love wearing costumes. Every day it was a costume. It didn't matter if we were going grocery shopping to Lowe's, it did not matter. They were wearing a costume. You can bet your bottom dollar. And I just let them. I would let them do their thing, but there were times when they would want to put rain boots on with it. And I would say, "Oh, that looks great. You guys look awesome. You did a good job dressing yourself today." Or, "Oh, you know what? Let's take those boots and put them on the other foot. It'll feel more comfortable."
Mm-hmm.
It's all in how you spin that. Even for adults, right? You can spin things even if it's not done exactly how you want. You can find a way to make it more positive and it helps boost somebody's.
I remember after my husband gave a talk one time, he asked how'd it go. He'd left his notes at home. And I looked at him and said, "Oh, honey, it wasn't your best, but you did a good job."
A little real, a little kindness.
I was genuine and letting him know that, yeah, he forgot his notes and he did his best. So that's the fourth tip. When praise is warranted, give it, because so many people feel unseen. Their efforts are unnoticed. A delicious meal is set before you. Some task is well done. It's really worth saying something. There can be times when we have guests over, and I will spend 3, 4, 5 hours preparing the food. And sometimes people just seem so busy in telling me story. They're eating, but are they tasting what they're eating? Take that time to compliment a delicious meal is to also take the time to eat it, to taste it, to savor it, and let that come out in words. So, yeah, you can be genuine, you can give details, you can think small. It can be big too, but, look for the small things. I think especially with children or individuals who have some sense of not being quite secure in a task that they've done. And sure, let someone know when you notice something. And likewise, we can talk about receiving a compliment. Have you ever thrown off a compliment when you've received one? I know I have. Oh, that looks so beautiful. But here's where I made the mistake. The very first scarf that I wove, it was the very first piece that I did all on my own after I had a couple of classes. And I took it to the woman who I bought the yarn from. And she said, "This is amazing." And I said, "Yeah, but I got lost in the pattern. I kept unraveling. I couldn't figure out where I was. There's a mistake here." And she said, "No, you are not seeing these edges, which were beautifully done," right? I should have just said, "Thank you." And I may have asked her, what was it about this piece of work? What did you see in it? Because she wasn't specific, right? It was just a kind of blanket thing. And I can remember throwing that off. I made a mistake here.
I run into that specifically with my husband. I'm going to throw him out in this conversation because he does a lot of construction maintenance work. He works with his hands. And every time we would do something to the house, he'd say, "Yeah, but this right here it's not right. It's not perfect. It's not whatever." But that was what he was seeing. He was seeing that little part that wasn't right instead of stepping back. And I'm the one, this is why we work well together. We balance each other. I step back and go, "That's like the tiniest little thing. No one is going to notice that. Look at all that you've done. Look at the big picture." I think a lot of people have a hard time with that because so many people try to be this perfectionism in life, or they take what they do as their craft so deeply. They want it to be perfect that they only see the downfall instead of
Mhm.
the little twinkle, the shimmer, the silver lining.
So we tend to minimize things, right?
Yeah.
So don't say thank you, but look at this over here. Just receive a compliment. And the words thank you are enough. Or if you want to say something more, thank you. I appreciate the comment. Or thank you. It's kind of you to say. Or thank you. It was my pleasure, right? Something, thank you is a good space, and hold that compliment.
Yeah. The
Uh,
one I always find, and I'm sure a lot of women will understand this one, is someone says, "Oh my gosh, I love your dress. It's so cute." And the first thing out of your mouth is, "Oh my gosh, I got it on the clearance rack for $7. Look, it's nothing." How many women can understand that? Like you said, you're downplaying what
mhm.
what the compliment
The
was.
compliment is. So
Mhm.
receive the compliment.
Yeah, receive it and say thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, if, for instance, you're part of a team and you've received the compliment, you can also say thank you. And then we worked hard on this. Thank you for acknowledging our efforts. So receive the compliment on behalf of others, if that's possible. And then let the others know if they're not present in that situation. Another thing to do is to watch your nonverbal cues. So steady eye contact, leaning a tad bit forward, and interested, open, engaged facial expression. These all show openness. And so you can close off your body with a compliment, or you can attempt to keep your body open to that compliment. And whatever you do, don't deny it. It was nothing, wasn't a big deal. This whole thing, these can actually be read by the person giving the compliment as a rejection of what they're seeing or experiencing. So a compliment authentically given needs to be gracefully received. The other thing that can frequently happen is we try to one up a compliment. So it's a beautiful dress you have. And then you try to find something on the person to return that compliment back to them. Say it's someone you haven't seen for a while, you're at a gathering, people are dressed up in a way you normally don't see them, or some situation. You can build one in your imagination or remember one. But the thing is to receive the compliment. If you want to give one, you may do that, but first receive it rather than your dress is so fine. I like your earrings. It's your dress is so fine. Oh, thank you. Yes, I was so pleased with the way it brings out the color of my eyes or something like that. And then, oh, by the way, your earrings are, so don't try to one up it. Let yourself and the individual take that moment to, shall I say, bask in the glow of that compliment. Another thing, when a compliment is offered from the heart, denying it in a way, questioning it, insulting the giver of the compliment, we don't really want to do that. So if you say you've given one of the best sermons I've ever heard, I get that every now and then. I don't want to say, really? I'm going to say, thank you. And if they don't have a little bit of what it was about that engaged them, so you can engage in a conversation on that. So what was it about what I did that seemed to you to be the best? Because you can learn from that as well. And a person will be heard and drawn out in a way that lets them know you have received that compliment. Because I could really be nasty and say, oh, you must not listen to many sermons. I'm putting myself down and I'm putting them down. And so again, just turn to thank you. And if you want a little more specifics, ask it. And if it's an authentic compliment, they'll be able to give them.
I don't mean to cut you off, but just something that popped to mind is I think when you're getting a compliment from someone like that, you're getting it from their perspective.
Absolutely.
So if they thought that was the best sermon they had ever heard, that's their perspective, and that's a blessing to them, really.
That's exactly it. Or this is the best cake you have ever made. So this morning I had the day we're taping this, it's my daughter-in-law's birthday. And so I FaceTimed them. They live in Japan. It's a long ways away. Just don't go over for dinner. Come home. And my granddaughter, age 12, had made a cake for her mother. It was a little lopsided. It was the first cake she'd ever made. And I told her how it looked to me and how wonderful it was that she had done that for her mother, and how honored how much time she must have taken, because she made a cream layer between the two layers of the cake. And she had worked really hard on that. And so I wanted to acknowledge it. And I was able to ask her mother, how did it taste? So that sense of allowing her to receive that, because she started to point out the imperfections and I started to point out what was well done.
Yeah. And that'll help build confidence, and she'll want, to me, that's celebrating what she's done already.
Mm-hmm.
So then she doesn't feel hesitant to try again.
to make another cake.
to keep moving forward and keep trying. And every one she makes, we all know this, it's baby steps. Every time you take a step, you get a little better and a little better and a little better.
Exactly. And the last one on my list is don't milk the compliment. So, golly, are you sure? Can I get more compliments out of things, right? It may be taken as an attempt to elicit reassurance. So again, as you mentioned, Jessica, there's the recipient giving the compliment, or the receiving the compliment, and the giver of the compliment. And both of them are coming from, I'll just say, their own world. And to try to reach into the world of the other in an appropriate way makes a huge difference. You know, a good compliment is really empowering. It shows someone gives me a compliment, it shows I've been seen, I've been acknowledged, and the impact of that has been shown. Spirits are brightened. And that's positivity in its way, and positivity is infectious, absolutely infectious. And the receiver then, I think there's been some scientific studies on this, is actually more likely to pass on that goodwill to someone else. So it's a way to connect with the humanity around us and within us when we give and receive compliments in, I'm just going to say, appropriate.
I love all of that. I think the other thing too is it spreads kindness to others.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows, you can all probably think back at some point in life when someone gave you a compliment for something, or you gave someone else a compliment, and the response was, man, that made me feel really good. And when it makes you feel good, it's a ripple effect. And then you want to go out and pay it forward, help somebody else feel good about what they're going through. And I think specifically the holiday season can be tough. I think life in general sometimes is just rough. But the more we can connect with somebody else, and even if you're having a bad day, give a compliment to a stranger or smile at someone, it makes you feel better and it helps you get through whatever it is.
You can, in very small ways, change lives this way. I will frequently tell a server at a restaurant, you have served us so well. Thank you for checking on it. Thank you for handling this. I am appreciative of your work. And you can see a person stand up a little bit straighter, move a little more gracefully. I give those compliments when they are warranted. I don't give it to a sloppy service. For something like that, I will say, wow, this really tasted really good. Thank you for bringing this to the table. Please let the kitchen staff know, or something like that. So you've got to be genuine, give some details. You can think small, which is perfectly fine, and do give a compliment when praise is worthy, and especially with children. I've seen so many people point out what the child has done wrong rather than what the child has done right. If you want something to grow, you water it with your attention. And then receiving a compliment, you can just say thank you. And if it's for someone more than you, acknowledge your team members. That's important too. I couldn't have done this without. We worked really hard on this. Don't deny it. Don't try to one up a compliment. Don't try to milk it either. Just let it be and say thank you.
Yep. Those are great steps. Thank you for sharing that. That's really
Oh,
going to be helpful for sure. Well, you all could take this information and take it to your journal and use it as a prompt if you wish. If you just need to take this as I'm going to take a minute today and reflect while you drink your coffee and go back and remember how good it made you feel to say something compliment to another person or to receive the compliment. It can be really helpful in putting your day in the right direction. So thank you for joining us for this week's Roots of Growth. We hope today's practice gave you a pause, a breath, a gentle rooting in what truly matters. Don't forget to try this and make sure if you are on social media, you share what worked for you or what you did with your journal prompt or your reflection if you like, using hashtag roots of growth. All right, Nancy, next week we are going to go into week 8 and the focus will be do the little thing. Can you give everybody a quick glimpse into what that will be?
Sure. This comes from actually Saint David of Wales, who died in the year 587. Lots of stories exist about Saint David of Wales, but one of them is supposedly on his deathbed, he said to his monks, "Be joyful, brothers and sisters. Keep your faith and do the little things that you have seen and heard with me." So we'll talk about what those little things are.
I love that. So there's a little sneak peek. You guys come back next week to hear all about that and make sure you go back and listen to episodes 1 through 6. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.